I trusted my heart to a beta. The next day, 700 wolves howled my name, and my fate changed forever. Capítulo 1. They expected me to choose power, but I chose the man who taught me how to breathe again. I stand before 500 wolves in the Great Hall of Silvercrest, my white dress feeling like chains against my skin. The stone throne behind me is still warm from where I sat for 3 hours, listening to the Council of Elders recite prophecies about my duty, my bloodline, my destiny. The air reeks of pine and alpha power, so thick I can taste it on my tongue like copper. Golden eyes gleam from every shadow, watching, waiting, expecting me to confirm what they already believe is inevitable. Drake Morven stands at the front of the assembled pack, his massive frame radiating confidence. His black hair is pulled back, showcasing the sharp angles of his face, the cruel beauty that has made him legendary among our kind. He's dressed in ceremonial leather, every inch the warrior king everyone expects me to bind myself to. His scent reaches me even from 20 feet away, all dominance and possession, the smell of a wolf who has never been told no in his entire life. I should want him. That's what they all think. That's what I was raised to believe. My fingers dig into the fabric of my dress as I force myself to look at him, really look at him, and all I can see is the last 3 years playing out like a nightmare I've been too afraid to wake from. The extravagant gifts that arrived without me asking, jewels and furs and weapons I never wanted. The public displays where he'd pull me close during pack gatherings, his hand on my waist feeling more like a collar than a caress, marking his territory for everyone to see. The way he touches me like I'm something he already owns, something he's just waiting to claim officially. Not once in 3 years has he asked me what I want. Not once has he looked at me and seen Victoria instead of the Lunar Queen, the rare albino wolf born once every 1,000 years, the prize that would cement his place as the most powerful alpha in 7 kingdoms. My father wanted this match before he died. The Council of Elders has been pushing for it since I turned 18. Every tradition, every law, every expectation of our 1,000-year-old pack points to this moment. To me standing here and saying Drake's name, binding myself to him for life, producing the alpha heirs that will continue the Silvercrest bloodline. But 6 months ago, everything changed. The memory hits me like a physical blow, so vivid I can smell the moonflowers blooming in silver clusters. I'd gone to the sacred lunar gardens alone, desperate for peace after another suffocating dinner where Drake held court, and I was expected to smile prettily beside him. The gardens were my sanctuary, the only place in Silvercrest where I could breathe without someone watching, judging, expecting. I'd pushed through the iron gates, moonlight painting everything silver and blue, and that's when I saw him for the first time. Cameron Whitlock, kneeling between the flowers with his hands in the earth, so focused on the delicate lunar blooms, he didn't even hear me approach. He wasn't massive like the alphas, didn't radiate that suffocating dominant power. He was lean and graceful, his brown hair falling into his eyes, his hands gentle as he coaxed a struggling plant back to life. When he finally noticed me standing there, he didn't drop into the submissive bow that Betas usually offered to wolves of my rank. He just looked up, dirt smudged on his cheek, and smiled. It was the most genuine thing I'd seen in years. "You want to help?" he'd asked, like I was just another person, not the Lunar Queen everyone walked on eggshells around. Moonflowers respond better to female touch. Something about the energy. I should have said no, should have left immediately. Instead, I'd knelt beside him in my expensive dress, not caring about the dirt, and let him guide my hands to the plant's roots. His fingers brushed mine, calloused and warm, and something in my chest cracked open. Something I'd been keeping locked away for so long, I'd forgotten it existed. We talked until dawn. He told me about the ancient manuscripts he studied, the forgotten plant lore that most wolves dismissed as superstition. He made me laugh with stories about stubborn flowers and temperamental herbs. He asked me questions, real questions, about what I thought, what I wanted, what made me happy. Not once did he mention my title, my bloodline, my duty. I went back the next night, and the next, and the next. For 6 months, those midnight meetings in the Lunar Gardens were the only real moments in my life. Cameron taught me the names of every plant in Old Tongue, the language wolves spoke before we built kingdoms. He showed me how to coax moonvine from dormant seeds, how to brew teas that could ease anxiety, how to read the patterns in flower petals that predicted weather changes. But more than that, he listened. When I talked about feeling like a prisoner in my own life, He didn't tell me I was being dramatic, or that duty was honor. He just held my hand and said, "You deserve to be happy, Victoria. Not the queen. You." The first time our fingers lingered together on the same blossom, I felt electricity race up my arm. The first time our eyes met and held for too long, I felt something fundamental shift in the universe around us. But I told myself it was just friendship, just stolen moments of freedom, before I'd have to marry Drake and become what everyone expected. Then, 3 nights ago, everything changed forever. I'd gone to the gardens after another brutal council meeting, where they'd discussed my upcoming bonding ceremony with Drake, like I wasn't even in the room. I was so angry, so suffocated, that I shifted without meaning to, my wolf form erupting out of me in a burst of frustration. My albino wolf, white as fresh snow, marked with the crescent moon birthmark on my chest that proved my lunar bloodline. I rarely shifted in front of anyone, knowing how rare and valuable it made me, how it increased the pressure and expectations. But I shifted that night in the gardens, and Cameron saw me. I expected fear, reverence maybe, the same awed worship I got from everyone who knew what I was. Instead, when Cameron looked at my wolf form for the first time, I saw something in his green eyes that made my heart stop. Pure admiration, unconditional love, not for what I represented or what I could give him, but for me, just me, the person he'd been talking to in moonlight for 6 months. He reached out slowly, giving me time to pull away, and when his fingers touched my white fur, the world exploded. The mate bond snapped into place like a physical force, invisible threads of destiny suddenly visible, glowing between us. It wrapped around my heart and his, binding us in a way that went deeper than flesh, deeper than pack law, deeper than anything I'd ever felt. I felt his emotions crash into me like waves, shock and joy and overwhelming love. I felt his soul recognize mine, 2 halves that had been searching for each other since the beginning of time. Cameron felt it too. I saw it in his face, the way his eyes went wide, the way he breathed my name like a prayer. "Victoria," he whispered. And in that moment I knew with absolute certainty that this soft-spoken beta scholar who tended flowers and studied ancient texts was my fated mate, the other half of my soul, the one the moon goddess herself had chosen for me. Not Drake. Never Drake. The realization should have terrified me. Instead, it felt like coming home. We didn't speak that night. We didn't need to. Cameron held my wolf form against his chest, his heartbeat steady and strong beneath my ear, and I felt safe for the first time in my entire life. When I shifted back to human form, naked and vulnerable in the moonlight, he wrapped his jacket around me without looking away from my eyes, like I was the most precious thing in the world. "I know what this means," he'd said quietly, his hand cupping my face with such tenderness it made my throat tight. "I know what it will cost you to choose me. I'm just a beta, Victoria. I have nothing to offer you except myself, but if you'll have me, I swear I'll spend every day proving I'm worthy of this gift." I'd kissed him then, my hands in his hair, tasting moonlight and earth and destiny on his lips. "You already are," I'd whispered against his mouth. "You see me. That's more than anyone else has ever done. Now, standing in the great hall with 500 pairs of eyes on me, I can still feel the ghost of that kiss burning on my lips. I can still feel the mate bond humming between us, pulling me toward where Cameron stands at the back of the crowd, trying to be invisible, his beta rank making him blend into the background of alphas and warriors who command attention just by breathing. But I see him. I've always seen him. Drake steps forward, assuming this is his moment of triumph. He holds out his hand, arrogant confidence in every line of his body, already reaching for what he believes is his. The Council of Elders leans forward in anticipation. The pack holds its collective breath. I take a deep breath, drawing in the scent of my pack, my kingdom, my prison. Then I let it out slowly, feeling the weight of 1,000 years of tradition sitting on my shoulders like stones. My father's memory, the expectations of my bloodline, the laws that have governed Silvercrest since before written history, all of it demanding that I do my duty, all of it about to shatter. I choose Cameron Whitlock as my mate, I say, my voice cutting through the silence like a blade. For exactly 3 heartbeats, nobody moves, nobody breathes. The words hang in the air like impossible things, like I've just announced the sky is falling or the moon is dying. Then the great hall explodes. Voices erupt from every direction, shock and outrage and disbelief crashing over me like a physical wave. Elders surge to their feet, robes flapping, faces purple with fury. Wolves in the crowd turn to each other, arguing, some nodding in approval, most looking horrified. The sound is deafening, hundreds of voices all talking at once, my name being shouted from every corner, but I don't look at any of them. I keep my eyes locked on Drake, watching his face contort from confident triumph to confusion, to dawning horror, to pure, incandescent rage. His hands clench into fists, veins bulging in his neck, his alpha power rolling off him in waves so strong that betas and omegas nearest him stumble backward. His golden eyes burn like fire, promising violence, promising retribution. "You dare," he snarls, his voice cutting through the chaos, raw and feral. "You dare humiliate me like this? Choose a worthless beta over me?" "Cameron is not worthless," I say, my voice steady, even though my heart is hammering so hard I can feel it in my throat. "And this is not about humiliating you, Drake. This is about choosing my own fate." "Your fate?" He laughs, the sound bitter and sharp. "Your fate was decided the moment you were born, Victoria. You are the Lunar Queen. I am the dominant alpha. We were meant to unite our bloodlines, to create the strongest pack in history, and you're throwing it away for some weak beta who tends flowers like a common servant?" Something hot and fierce ignites in my chest. Cameron is worth 10 of you. He's kind and gentle and brilliant. He sees me as a person, not a prize to be won, or a womb to carry your precious alpha heirs. The crowd gasps at my bluntness, at hearing their Lunar Queen speak so plainly about things that are usually discussed in careful euphemisms. The elders look like they might faint, but I don't care anymore. I'm so tired of pretending, of performing, of being what everyone else needs me to be. Elder Moira, the pack's ancient seer, rises from her seat, her clouded eyes somehow still piercing. "Victoria Ashbourne, do you understand what you're doing? The mate bond with a beta instead of an alpha goes against every tradition of our pack. Your children will be weak. Your line will diminish. This is not just about you. It's about the future of Silvercrest itself. Then maybe Silvercrest needs a different future," I say, and the words feel like liberation and terror in equal measure. Maybe we need to stop measuring worth by alpha power and start measuring it by character, by loyalty, by love. I finally let myself look away from the chaos, my eyes finding Cameron at the back of the hall. He's pale, his green eyes wide with shock, and something that looks like fear. He never expected me to actually do it, I realize. He thought I'd choose duty in the end, that the mate bond wouldn't be enough to overcome 1,000 years of tradition. But he underestimates how much I need him, how much I need the man who makes me feel human instead of like a priceless breeding mare. I step down from the throne platform, my bare feet silent on cold stone. The crowd parts before me like water, wolves scrambling to get out of my way, some with respect, others with disgust. I walk through them all with my head high, my white dress trailing behind me, moving with purpose toward the one person in this room who matters. Cameron watches me come, frozen in place, like he can't believe this is happening. When I reach him, I place my hand on his chest, feeling his heart pounding beneath my palm. Up close, I can see the fear in his eyes, but also something else. Love, pure, terrifying, unconditional love. "Are you sure?" he whispers, so quietly only I can hear. "Victoria, if you do this, there's no going back. They'll never forgive you, never accept me." "I don't need their forgiveness," I whisper back, my hand sliding up to cup his face, rough with stubble, warm and alive beneath my fingers. "I need you. I choose you, Cameron, now and always." I speak the ancient words of the mating ritual before he can protest, before anyone can stop me, the old tongue flowing from my lips like water, the words that bind two souls together for life, that mark one wolf as belonging to another. In the old days, these words were spoken in private, sacred, and secret, but I speak them here, in front of everyone, letting them all witness my choice. When I finish, I kiss him. The moment our lips touch, the great hall erupts in blinding silver light. It pours from my skin like liquid moonlight, racing down my arms, my legs, pooling beneath my feet. I feel my wolf surge to the surface without my permission, but I don't fully shift. Instead, I exist in that space between human and wolf, my body still mine, but my eyes burning ice blue, my white hair lifting in a wind that isn't there. Power crashes through me like nothing I've ever felt, old and vast and terrifying. It feels like the moon itself is inside my chest, like I'm burning from the inside out with silver fire. Markings appear on my skin, glowing runes in the old tongue that I've only seen in ancient manuscripts, covering my arms, my shoulders, my neck. They burn like brands but don't hurt, each one a word of power, a promise, a prophecy. Cameron staggers back, his eyes wide with awe and terror, but I grab his hand and hold on tight. "Don't leave me," I gasp, the power still coursing through my veins like lightning. "Please, Cameron, don't leave me." "Never," he breathes, and pulls me close despite the light still pouring from my skin, despite the runes burning between us, despite the fact that touching me right now probably hurts him. "I'll never leave you, Victoria. I swear it." The light finally fades, leaving the great hall in shocked silence. I'm trembling, my legs barely holding me up, but I'm standing. The runes on my skin slowly fade to invisible, but I can still feel them beneath my flesh, permanent and powerful. Elder Moira is staring at me with an expression I've never seen on her ancient face, wonder and fear. "The prophecy," she whispers, so quietly I almost don't hear her. "The old prophecy. When the Lunar Queen chooses heart over hierarchy, the moon will answer. She will become..." But she doesn't finish. She just shakes her head, looking at me like I'm something that shouldn't exist. Drake is still standing at the front of the hall, and when I look at him now, I see murder in his eyes. Pure, calculated murder. He's not just angry anymore. He's dangerous. I've humiliated him in front of the entire pack, rejected him for a beta, triggered some kind of ancient magic that even the elders didn't expect. He will make me pay for this. I can see it in his face, but right now, with Cameron's hand in mine and the taste of destiny on my lips, I can't bring myself to care. "The ceremony is complete," I announce to the hall, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "Cameron Whitlock is my chosen mate. Anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with the moon goddess herself." Then I turn and walk out of the great hall, pulling Cameron with me, leaving chaos and fury and tradition shattered in my wake. That night, alone in my chambers with Cameron, I finally let myself fall apart. We consummate the bond in the darkness, and it's nothing like I expected. There's no dominance, no claiming, no performance of power. It's tender and intense and perfect. Two souls finally finding each other after lifetimes of searching. Cameron touches every inch of my skin like I'm something sacred, something precious, not property to be possessed. He whispers my name like a prayer, holds me like I might break, loves me like I'm enough exactly as I am. When we're finished, tangled together in sheets that smell like moonlight and earth, I feel something fundamental shift inside me. It's like a door opening in the center of my chest, ancient power that's been dormant my entire life suddenly awakening. My bones feel different, heavier, like they're filling with liquid silver. My skin tingles with energy that wants to burst free. "Do you feel that?" I whisper against Cameron's shoulder, his heartbeat steady beneath my ear. "Feel what?" he murmurs, half asleep, his fingers drawing lazy patterns on my spine. "Like everything just changed," I say, but I can't explain it better than that. Like the universe shifted on its axis, and I'm at the center of it, power building inside me like a storm about to break. Cameron kisses my forehead, pulling me closer. "Get some sleep," he says softly. "Tomorrow we face whatever comes next. Together." I close my eyes, feeling safer than I have in years, complete in a way I didn't know was possible. The mate bond hums between us, golden and warm, connecting our hearts, our souls, our fates. But outside, in the darkness beyond my window, Drake Morven stands in the shadows, watching the light in my chambers finally go dark. His hands are clenched into fists, his alpha power rolling off him in waves of rage and humiliation. His lips move in the darkness, forming words that sound like promises, words that sound like vengeance. I wake to the feeling of something fundamental breaking open inside my chest, like a dam finally giving way after holding back an ocean for too long. The dawn light filters through the curtains in shades of pink and gold, painting Cameron's sleeping face in soft colors. He's beautiful like this, peaceful, one arm still draped across my waist even in sleep. His chest rises and falls with steady breaths, his brown hair falling across his forehead in a way that makes my heart ache with tenderness. After everything that happened last night, the chaos and the claiming and the power that exploded between us, he still managed to fall asleep like nothing in the world could touch us here. But something has touched us. Something has changed me. I slide carefully out from under his arm, my bare feet silent on the cold stone floor as I move toward the mirror mounted on the far wall. My reflection stops me cold, breath catching in my throat so sharply it almost hurts. My eyes are wrong. They've always been pale blue, the color of ice or winter sky, marking me as an albino lunar wolf even in human form. But the woman staring back at me from the mirror has eyes like molten gold, burning with an inner fire that makes them look almost luminous in the dim morning light. They glow like small suns set into my face, ancient and powerful and completely terrifying. I lean closer, my hands gripping the edge of the dresser, studying this stranger wearing my skin. The gold swirls and shifts like liquid metal, catching the light with every tiny movement of my pupils. It's beautiful and horrifying in equal measure, marking me as something other, something more than what I was yesterday. What's happening to me? I whisper to my reflection, but she has no answers. Just those burning golden eyes staring back with the same fear I feel crawling up my spine. That's when I hear it. The first howl cuts through the morning silence like a blade, long and mournful, and impossibly loud. It's coming from somewhere far away, beyond the castle walls, beyond the boundaries of Silvercrest territory. Before I can process what I'm hearing, a second howl joins the first, and then a third, and then suddenly the air is full of them. Hundreds of voices, thousands, all howling in perfect unison, a sound so massive and overwhelming it makes the windows rattle in their frames. And they're all howling the same thing. My name. I run to the balcony, throwing open the doors with shaking hands. The cold morning air hits my skin, but I barely feel it, too focused on the impossible sound filling the world around me. Cameron is awake behind me. I hear him stumbling out of bed, calling my name in confusion, but I can't answer him. I can't do anything but stand here and listen to this supernatural chorus that shouldn't exist. The howls are coming from every direction at once, near and far simultaneously, creating harmonics that shouldn't be possible. Some are deep and resonant, others high and clear, but they're all singing my name in the ancient wolf tongue, the language that predates kingdoms and written words. Victoria, 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 over and over. A prayer and a proclamation, acknowledgement and submission, all rolled into one impossible moment. What is that? Cameron's arms wrap around me from behind, his body warm against my back, anchoring me when I feel like I might fly apart. Victoria, what's happening? I don't know. I breathe, my voice barely audible over the howling. I don't understand, but even as I say it, I feel something responding inside me. That new power that woke me this morning surging toward the surface like it recognizes these voices, like it's been waiting for them. My skin starts to glow with silver light, faint but unmistakable, and I feel my wolf pressing against the inside of my skin, desperate to answer this call with one of her own. The howling reaches a crescendo that makes my bones vibrate, then cuts off abruptly, leaving a silence so complete it feels like the world has stopped breathing. In that silence, I hear footsteps thundering up the stairs toward my chambers, voices raised in alarm and excitement and fear. My door slams open without warning, and the Council of Elders floods into my private chambers like a wave. Elder Moira is at the front, her clouded eyes somehow still managing to find me on the balcony, her ancient face pale with shock. Behind her, the other 6 elders crowd into the room, all of them talking at once, their voices overlapping in incomprehensible chaos. Did you hear it? Impossible, it can't be. The prophecy, the ancient prophecy. 700 exactly. I counted 700 distinct voices. Silence! Moira's voice cracks like a whip, cutting through the babble. The other elders fall quiet immediately, though they continue to stare at me with expressions ranging from awe to terror. Moira moves closer, her gnarled hands gripping her walking stick so hard her knuckles are white. Child, do you understand what just happened? No, I admit, my hand finding Cameron's and holding on tight. Tell me. Moira's voice trembles when she speaks, something I've never heard from our pack's ancient seer. 700 wolves from 7 kingdoms all howled your name at dawn, recognizing your sovereignty simultaneously. This hasn't happened in over 1,000 years, not since the first Lunar Queen united the wolf kingdoms under her rule. 7 kingdoms, 700 wolves. The numbers spin in my head, too big to comprehend. That's not possible. How could wolves from other kingdoms even know about me? How could they all respond at the same time? Because you triggered the lunar call, another elder says. his voice hushed with reverence. When a true lunar sovereign is born and makes her choice, the moon itself announces it to every wolf in the realm. It's written in the oldest texts, in prophecies we thought were just stories. I feel Cameron's hand tighten in mine, his breath catching. What does this mean? He asks quietly. For Victoria? Moira's clouded eyes fix on him, and I see something like pity cross her ancient face. It means she is no longer just the Silvercrest Pack's Lunar Queen. She is the Lunar Sovereign, destined to unite and command all 7 wolf kingdoms. It means her power is greater than any alpha who has ever lived. She pauses, her expression darkening. And it means those who oppose her choice will see it as an abomination that must be corrected. As if summoned by her words, I feel my body beginning to shift without my permission. Panic floods through me as my wolf surges to the surface, forcing the transformation whether I want it or not. Cameron lets go of my hand and steps back, giving me space as my bones begin to crack and reform. But this transformation feels different. Wrong. Or maybe not wrong. Just more than it's ever been before. I drop to my hands and knees on the balcony stones, my human skin rippling and reshaping. But the pain that usually accompanies shifting is absent. Instead, there's just pressure, like my body is trying to contain something too big for it, something that wants to burst free in a way that has nothing to do with my wolf form. When the transformation completes, I know immediately that I'm different. My white fur is still there, pure as fresh snow, but now it's threaded through with strands of living silver that gleam like liquid metal in the morning light. The silver isn't static. It moves and shifts with each breath I take, flowing through my coat like veins of molten moonlight. Flames made of silver fire dance along my spine, not burning but crackling with energy that I can feel all the way down to my bones. And I'm bigger, so much bigger. I was always a large wolf for a female, but now I dwarf even the largest alpha males I've seen. My shoulders come up to Cameron's chest when I stand, my body radiating a presence that makes everyone in the room take an involuntary step backward, including the elders who have known me since birth. I catch my reflection in the glass doors and barely recognize myself. My eyes are still that burning gold, but now they're surrounded by silver fire, making me look like something divine and terrible. The crescent moon birthmark on my chest that has always marked me as lunar royalty now glows with its own light, pulsing in rhythm with my heartbeat. The lunar sovereign, Moira whispers, and she does something I've never seen her do in all my years. She kneels. One by one, the other elders follow her example, dropping to their knees before me, heads bowed in submission. I shift back to human form, my body flowing from wolf to woman in a transformation that feels effortless now, like breathing. Cameron immediately wraps a blanket around my naked shoulders, his hands gentle, but I can feel them trembling. Get up, I tell the elders, my voice coming out rougher than intended. Please just tell me what's happening to me. Moira rises slowly, leaning heavily on her walking stick. The prophecy speaks of this moment, though we never truly believed it would come to pass. When the Lunar Queen chooses heart over hierarchy, when she claims a mate based on love rather than power, the moon will answer her courage. She will command the loyalty of every wolf who hears her name. The power that was denied to her ancestors will manifest in her, making her strong enough to protect the choice she made. What ancestors? I demand, my golden eyes burning brighter with emotion. What was denied to them? The old seer's face crumples with something like grief. Your mother, child. Your mother was like you, an albino lunar wolf born once in 1,000 years. She was meant to be the lunar sovereign, to unite the kingdoms and usher in a new era. But she was forced to choose an alpha king she didn't love, forced into a political marriage that served the pack's interests rather than her heart. Moira's voice drops to barely a whisper. Her power never manifested. It stayed dormant inside her until the day she died bringing you into this world. She sacrificed everything, including the destiny that should have been hers. The words hit me like a physical blow, stealing the breath from my lungs. My mother. I've spent my whole life knowing almost nothing about her except that she died in childbirth, that my father loved her and mourned her until his own death 5 years ago. But this truth that she was like me, that she was denied her own fate, that her power died dormant because she chose duty over her heart, it breaks something inside me. The moon goddess has been waiting, Moira continues, her clouded eyes wet with tears. Waiting for a lunar queen brave enough to make the choice your mother couldn't. When you claimed Cameron last night, when you chose love over duty despite knowing what it would cost you, you fulfilled a prophecy that's been waiting to happen for 25 years. You freed not just yourself, but your mother's spirit, and the spirits of every Luna who died in loveless bonds throughout history. That's why 700 wolves howled, I whisper, understanding flooding through me. They're not all alive, are they? No, Moira confirms gently. Some of those voices came from wolves who have been dead for centuries, spirits that have been waiting for this moment, waiting to be freed from the curse of forced bonds. They howled your name in recognition and gratitude, acknowledging you as the sovereign who finally broke the cycle. I feel Cameron's hand find mine again, his fingers threading through my own. When I look at him, I see tears streaming down his face, his green eyes filled with a mixture of awe and terror, an overwhelming love. I didn't know, he says hoarsely. Victoria, I didn't know that choosing me would do this to you, would put all of this on your shoulders. I'd choose you again, I tell him fiercely, turning to cup his face in my hands. 1,000 times over. I'd choose you. The power, the prophecy, all of it. It doesn't matter as much as you do. But even as I say it, I can see the doubt creeping into his eyes, the fear that maybe I'm wrong, that maybe this is too much. The rest of the morning passes in a blur of activity. Word of the 700 wolves spreads through Silvercrest like wildfire, dividing the pack down the middle. Half see the phenomenon as divine blessing, proof that I am the true lunar sovereign, that my choice of Cameron was sanctioned by the moon goddess herself. These wolves gather in the courtyards and gardens, howling their support, pledging their loyalty to me and my chosen mate. But the other half, led by the traditionalist faction that has always held the most power in our pack, see it as abomination. They whisper that I've been cursed, that choosing a beta has corrupted my lunar bloodline, that the moon goddess is punishing us rather than blessing us. They demand that I reject Cameron and choose an alpha before it's too late, before whatever dark magic I've unleashed destroys Silvercrest from within. The tension is so thick I can taste it in the air, metallic and wrong, like blood before a storm breaks. In the afternoon, I'm walking through the castle gardens with Cameron, trying to find some moment of peace in the chaos, when I see them. 5 alpha warriors have cornered Cameron's closest friend Marcus in the training courtyard, their bodies forming a threatening circle around the smaller beta male. But they're not looking at Marcus. They're looking at Cameron. We move closer, and I hear their words carried on the wind, each one like a knife sliding between my ribs. The flower boy thinks he can be our queen's consort. One alpha sneers, his massive frame blocking Marcus's escape route. Thinks because she's been enchanted or cursed or whatever happened last night, that makes him worthy. It's pathetic, another adds, laughing cruelly. A beta playing at being a king. Wonder how long before she realizes her mistake and comes crawling back to a real male. Cameron stops walking, his hand slipping from mine. I see his shoulders stiffen, his jaw clench, but he doesn't respond to their taunts. He's trying to ignore them, to take the high road, to not give them the satisfaction of a reaction. But I can see his hands trembling at his sides. I can smell the humiliation rolling off him in waves, can see the way his eyes drop to the ground like he's trying to make himself smaller, less visible, less of a target. Something fierce and protective roars to life inside me, my new power surging toward the surface with violent intensity. How dare they? How dare these alpha males who have never shown an ounce of the courage Cameron displayed last night stand here and mock him for not being what they consider strong enough? I'm about to intervene, to remind these warriors exactly who I am and what I can do to them. When Cameron speaks, "You're right," he says quietly, his voice steady despite the trembling in his hands. "I'm just a beta. I tend gardens and study ancient texts. I'm not a warrior. I don't have alpha power or dominance or any of the things you all value so highly." He finally looks up, meeting their eyes one by one. "But Victoria chose me anyway. Not because I tricked her or enchanted her, but because I see her as a person instead of a prize. Because I love her for who she is, not what she can give me. If that makes me unworthy in your eyes, then I'll wear that unworthiness with pride." The alphas laugh, but it sounds forced now, uncertain. Cameron walks past them with his head high, collecting Marcus and guiding him away from the confrontation. But I see the cost of that dignity in every line of his body, in the way his shoulders hunch just slightly when he thinks no one is looking, in the tightness around his mouth that speaks of pain held carefully in check. That night, alone in our chambers, the mask finally cracks. "Maybe they're right," Cameron says suddenly, his voice breaking the comfortable silence we've been sitting in. He's standing by the window, staring out at the moon rising over Silvercrest, his shoulders rigid with tension. Maybe I'm not enough for you. I'm off the bed in an instant, crossing to him and turning him to face me. Don't you dare, I say fiercely. Don't you dare let them make you doubt what we have. Look at you, Victoria, he says, and there are tears in his green eyes now, spilling down his cheeks. You're glowing with silver fire. Your eyes burn like small suns. 700 wolves from 7 kingdoms howled your name at dawn. You're the lunar sovereign, destined to unite and rule territories I can't even imagine. And I'm just me, a beta who tends flowers and reads old books. How is that enough? How am I supposed to stand beside you when the gap between us just keeps getting wider? You think power makes me magnificent? I ask, my hands gripping his shoulders hard enough to bruise. You think the glowing eyes and the silver fire and the prophecies are what matter? Cameron, I've had power my whole life. I've been the Lunar Queen since I was born, marked and destined and worshipped from my first breath. And none of it, ever made me feel as strong as I feel when you hold my hand and tell me I'm enough exactly as I am. But what if I'm holding you back? He whispers, his forehead dropping to rest against mine. What if choosing me means you can't become what you're meant to be? Then we redefine what I'm meant to be, I tell him, my voice rough with emotion. Choosing you didn't diminish me, Cameron. It freed me. The prophecy says I chose heart over hierarchy, and that's what gave me this power. Don't you see? Loving you isn't weakness. It's the source of everything. I'm terrified, he admits, his hands coming up to frame my face, thumbs brushing away tears I didn't realize I was crying. Terrified that one day you'll wake up and realize you could have had an alpha king, someone strong and powerful and worthy, and you settled for me instead. I didn't settle, I say fiercely, pulling him closer. I chose. There's a difference. And I chose you when you were just the man in the gardens who made me laugh and taught me about moonflowers and saw Victoria instead of the Queen. Nothing that's happened since then changes that. Nothing ever will. We hold each other in the moonlight, 2 people trying to convince ourselves that love is enough, that we can withstand whatever storm is coming. And we almost believe it. Until Drake Morven kicks open the doors to the Great Hall during dinner the next evening, his face twisted with rage and dark magic crackling around his clenched fists. The entire pack is gathered for the evening meal, hundreds of wolves filling the long tables, their conversations creating a low hum of noise that cuts off abruptly when Drake enters. He's wearing battle leathers, twin swords crossed on his back, and his eyes are burning with something that looks like madness. But it's the mark on his forehead that makes my blood run cold. A symbol drawn in what looks like ash or blood, ancient and wrong, pulsing with dark power that makes the air around him shimmer with heat. He's been to a shadow witch. He's done something unforgivable. Drake strides through the hall with predatory grace, warriors scrambling to get out of his way, until he's standing directly in front of the high table where Cameron and I sit beside the elders. The smell rolling off him is wrong, corrupted, alpha power twisted with something darker and more dangerous. Cameron Whitlock! Drake's voice booms through the hall, echoing off stone walls. You stole what was mine by right. You used tricks and manipulation to seduce our queen away from her destiny, and I will not stand for it. Drake, I start to say, but he cuts me off with a snarl. I invoke the right of ancient challenge, he declares, his golden eyes burning into Cameron with pure hatred. Blood duel. No weapons, no mercy, no interference. The victor claims Victoria Ashbourne as his mate. The loser dies. The hall erupts in chaos. Voices raised in shock and excitement and horror, but I barely hear them over the rushing in my ears, the terror flooding my veins like ice water. No, I say, standing so fast my chair crashes backward. Absolutely not. That law is archaic, Drake. I've already chosen. The mate bond is sealed. You have no right. By pack law, I have every right, he interrupts, his smile cruel and triumphant. When an alpha is publicly rejected, he may challenge the chosen mate to reclaim what should have been his. The elders know this. Your precious Cameron can refuse, of course. But if he does, he'll be exiled as a coward, and you'll be required to choose another alpha within the month. I turn desperately to the elders, begging them to contradict him, to tell me this nightmare isn't real. But Moira's ancient face is grave, her clouded eyes wet with tears. He speaks truth, she says quietly. It's one of our oldest laws, written in blood and tradition. We cannot deny him this right. Then I deny it. I snarl, my power flaring around me, silver fire crackling in the air. I'm the lunar sovereign now. I command 7 kingdoms. I can change whatever laws I want. Not this one, Moira says, her voice heavy with grief. This law predates even the first Lunar Queen. It's written into the foundation of wolf society itself. If you refuse to honor it, you'll lose the loyalty of every traditional pack, and the civil war that follows will destroy everything you're trying to build. I feel my world crumbling, the walls closing in, every choice leading to destruction. I turn to Cameron, begging him silently to refuse, to run, to let me handle this without putting his life on the line. But Cameron is already standing, his face pale but determined, his green eyes meeting Drake's golden ones without flinching. I accept your challenge, he says, and his voice doesn't shake even though I can see his hands trembling at his sides. 3 days from now, at dawn, in the ancient dueling circle. No! I scream, grabbing his arm, trying to pull him back. Cameron? No, you can't do this. He'll kill you. If I refuse, I lose you anyway, Cameron says quietly, his hand covering mine where it clutches his arm. At least this way, I get to fight for you. At least this way, I prove that loving you is worth dying for. But I don't want you to die for me. Tears are streaming down my face now, my power surging out of control, making the floor shake beneath our feet. I want you to live with me. Cameron, please, please don't do this. 3 days, Drake says, his smile widening as he watches me fall apart. And when I rip his throat out in front of the entire pack, when his blood soaks into the dueling circle stones, you'll understand what happens when you reject your betters, Victoria. You'll learn that love is a pretty fairy tale, but power is what matters in the real world. He turns and walks out, the dark magic around him leaving scorch marks on the stone floor. The hall erupts in chaos again, some wolves shouting support for Drake, others shouting support for Cameron, the pack tearing itself apart right before my eyes. But I don't hear any of it. All I can hear is Cameron's heartbeat, steady and sure beside me, and the countdown already starting in my head. 72 hours until the man I love faces a warrior who has trained his entire life to kill, who has been corrupted by dark magic, who would rather see us both dead than accept that I chose my own destiny. 72 hours to figure out how to save him without losing everything we've fought for. 72 hours before I might have to watch my mate die proving something that should never have needed proving in the first place. The next 3 days are the longest of my life, each hour stretching into an eternity of fear and desperate preparation. I drag Cameron to the training grounds before dawn every morning, when the rest of the pack is still sleeping, when no one can witness what we both know is futile. I teach him everything I know about combat, every dirty trick my father taught me, every weakness in alpha fighting styles that might give him even the smallest advantage. We practice until his muscles shake with exhaustion, until blood from training wounds stains the practice mats, until the sun is high enough that other wolves start to appear, and we have to stop pretending there's any hope, because the truth sits between us like a corpse we're both trying to ignore. Betas don't beat alphas in direct combat. The physical difference is too vast, written into our very DNA. Alphas are bigger, stronger, faster, their bones denser, their healing more rapid, their instincts honed for violence in ways that betas simply aren't built for. And Drake isn't just any alpha. He's been a warrior for 20 years, has killed more enemies than I can count, has trained every single day of his life to be the deadliest fighter in Silvercrest. Cameron tries so hard. He learns the moves I show him, practices the combinations until they're muscle memory, pushes himself beyond any reasonable limit. But I watch him spar against the practice dummies and see the truth written in every movement. He's good. He's even talented. But he's not a match for what's coming. On the second day, I catch glimpses of Drake around the castle, and what I see turns my blood to ice. He's not just training physically. He disappears for hours at a time, returning with that dark mark on his forehead pulsing with corrupt energy, his eyes more red than gold now, his scent wrong in ways that make my wolf recoil in instinctive horror. Whatever magic he's bought from the Shadow Witch, it's changing him, making him into something that shouldn't exist. I try to tell the elders, to warn them that Drake is using forbidden magic, that this duel is already corrupted before it's even begun. But Elder Moira just shakes her head sadly, her clouded eyes wet with tears she won't let fall. The ancient challenge has no rules against magical enhancement, she tells me, her voice heavy with grief, only against weapons and outside interference. What Drake does to his own body is considered his choice, no matter how dark the magic involved. So he can poison himself with Shadow Witch potions and that's acceptable? I demand, my power flaring around me in silver flames that make the other elders step back nervously. He can corrupt himself with darkness and still have the right to claim my mate's life? Yes, Moira says simply, and the word lands like a death sentence. The night before the duel, Cameron and I lock ourselves in our chambers and refuse to see anyone. I send away the servants, bar the doors, and finally allow myself to fall completely apart in his arms. We make love like it's the last time, because it might be. Cameron's hands shake as he undresses me, his green eyes memorizing every inch of my skin like he's trying to burn the image into his soul for whatever comes after death. He touches me with a reverence that breaks my heart, kisses every scar and imperfection, whispers against my skin how beautiful I am, how brave, how he's never regretted a single moment since the night we met in the Moon Gardens. I love you, he says over and over, his voice cracking on the words. I love you so much it hurts. If tomorrow is all we get, if this is where our story ends, I want you to know that you made my entire life worth living. Every moment with you has been worth whatever comes next. I sob against his chest, my tears soaking his skin, my hands clutching him like I can hold him here through sheer force of will. Please don't do this, I beg him for the 100th time. Please, Cameron, let's just run. We can leave tonight, go somewhere Drake will never find us. I'll give up the throne, the pack, everything. I don't care about any of it if it means keeping you alive. If I run, what does that prove? Cameron asks gently, his fingers combing through my white hair, now streaked with those permanent silver threads that mark me as the lunar sovereign. That they're right, that betas are cowards who don't deserve to stand beside powerful mates, that you made a mistake choosing me? I don't care what they think, but I do. He tilts my face up, forcing me to meet his eyes. Not for me, Victoria. For every beta who has ever been told they're lesser. For every omega who has been forced into bonds they didn't choose. For everyone who has ever loved someone deemed inappropriate by pack law and tradition. If I run, I'm saying that love isn't worth fighting for. That hierarchy matters more than heart, and I refuse to prove them right about that. You could die, I whisper, the words tearing out of my throat like broken glass. Cameron, Drake is going to kill you and there's nothing I can do to stop it. They won't let me intervene. I'll have to watch you bleed out on those stones, and I don't know if I can survive that. I don't know if I want to survive it. Then we make this night count, he says, and kisses me with a desperation that tastes like goodbye. We make every second matter. And tomorrow, when I step into that circle, I'll be fighting for this, for us, for the right to have more nights like this one. We don't sleep. We spend the whole night wrapped around each other, talking and loving and crying, trying to fit a lifetime into these last few hours. Cameron tells me about his childhood, about the mother who died when he was young, and the father who taught him to tend gardens instead of fight wars. He tells me about the first time he saw me, 3 years before we ever spoke, watching me walk through the castle gardens looking so lonely and trapped that it broke his heart. He tells me that he's been half in love with me since that moment, that every night we spent together in the Moon Gardens felt like a miracle he never thought he deserved. I tell him things I've never told anyone, about the suffocating weight of being the Lunar Queen since birth, always watched, always judged, never allowed to be just Victoria, about my father who loved me, but couldn't see past his own ambitions for my bloodline, about my mother, who I never knew but feel connected to now in ways that make my chest ache, about how Cameron was the first person in my entire life who made me feel like I could breathe, like I was allowed to be human instead of divine. Whatever happens tomorrow, I tell him, as false dawn starts to lighten the sky outside our windows, you need to know that choosing you was the best decision I ever made, not because of the power it gave me or the prophecy it fulfilled, because you made me happy. You made me feel loved for who I am, not what I represent, and that gift is worth everything. I know, Cameron whispers, holding me tighter. I've always known. When the sun finally rises, we dress in silence, both of us moving like we're underwater, like time has turned thick and viscous around us. Cameron puts on simple leather pants and a loose shirt, clothes he can easily shed when he shifts. I wear the ceremonial robes of the Lunar Queen, white silk embroidered with silver thread, the heavy crown of lunar metal pressing down on my head like chains. The walk to the dueling circle feels like a funeral procession. The entire pack has gathered in the ancient stone amphitheater carved into the hills outside Silvercrest. Hundreds of wolves fill the tiered seating, their voices creating a low roar of anticipation and bloodlust. They've come to watch the spectacle, to see whether love or power will triumph, to witness history being made one way or another. I'm led to the elevated throne at the center of the highest tier, the place of honor where I'll have a perfect view of everything that's about to happen. The elders flank me on either side, their faces grave, their hands ready to restrain me if I try to intervene. The message is clear. I must witness this. I must watch without interfering, no matter what happens, or both Cameron and I will be executed for breaking sacred law. The dueling circle itself is 20 feet across, ancient stones marking its boundary, the ground inside stained dark with centuries of blood. The rules are simple and brutal. Fight until incapacitation or death, no weapons allowed, no mercy expected, just teeth and claws, and the primal violence that lives at the heart of every wolf. A horn sounds, deep and mournful, signaling the beginning of the challenge. Drake enters first, and the crowd erupts in cheers. He's already shifted, his massive black wolf form moving with predatory grace that makes my stomach turn. But something is wrong with him, wronger than it was before. He's enormous, easily twice the size of a normal alpha, his muscles bulging grotesquely under his dark fur. His eyes aren't golden anymore. They're solid red, glowing with malevolent fire. Dark smoke rises from his body like he's burning from the inside out, and the stones crack beneath his paws with each step. The Shadow Witch's potion. Whatever she gave him, it's made him into a monster. Drake circles the dueling ring, throwing back his massive head and howling his challenge to the sky. The sound is wrong, distorted, like multiple voices layered over each other. The crowd goes wild, stamping their feet, howling their approval, feeding on the violence about to unfold. Then Cameron enters, and the cheering cuts off abruptly, replaced by murmurs of pity and disbelief. His gray wolf form is beautiful, sleek and graceful, his coat shining silver in the morning light. But compared to Drake's monstrous bulk, he looks like a child, small, fragile, breakable. The size difference is so vast it seems almost cruel, like watching a lamb being led to slaughter. I feel vomit rising in my throat, my hands gripping the arms of the throne so hard the metal bends beneath my fingers. My power is screaming inside me, begging to be released. Silver fire crackling around my skin, as every instinct I have demands that I protect my mate. But the elder's hands land on my shoulders, holding me in place with surprising strength. "You cannot interfere," Moira whispers in my ear, her voice breaking. "If you do, you both die. You must watch, child. You must bear witness." Cameron's green eyes find mine across the distance, and for one moment, time seems to stop. He doesn't look afraid. He looks determined and sad, and so full of love it makes my heart shatter into pieces. Then he turns to face Drake, planting his paws in the blood-stained earth, ready to die for the right to love me. The horn sounds again, and the duel begins. Drake doesn't waste time with posturing or circling. He attacks immediately, a blur of black fur and red eyes and teeth like daggers. His claws catch Cameron's flank, tearing through fur and flesh, sending blood spraying across the stones. Cameron yelps in pain, stumbling sideways, barely managing to dodge the follow-up strike that would have taken his head off. The crowd roars with approval and horror in equal measure. Cameron tries to fight back, snapping at Drake's legs, but it's like attacking a mountain. Drake barely flinches, his corrupted body seeming immune to pain, his strength so vast that each blow sends Cameron flying meters through the air. I watch my mate crash into the stones again and again, watch blood mat his gray fur, watch him struggle to his feet only to be knocked down by the next attack. "Please," I'm sobbing, not even aware I'm speaking out loud. "Please stop this. Someone stop this. He's going to die." But no one stops it. They just watch, frozen in fascination or horror or cruel satisfaction, as Drake systematically destroys the beta who dared to claim what an alpha wanted. 5 minutes in, Cameron can barely stand. His right front leg is shattered, hanging at a wrong angle. Gashes cover his body, blood pooling beneath him, his breathing labored and wet like something inside him is broken. Drake is toying with him now, batting him around like a cat with a mouse, enjoying the suffering, dragging out the kill. "Just end it," someone in the crowd shouts. "Put the beta out of his misery." Drake seems to agree. He backs up, preparing for the final strike, the killing blow that will crush Cameron's skull and end this nightmare once and for all. His massive body coils like a spring, muscles bunching, red eyes locked on his target with savage joy. I'm screaming, fighting against the elders holding me, my power exploding outward in waves of silver fire that scorch the air. But they hold me fast. 6 ancient wolves using all their combined strength to keep me in my throne while my mate is murdered in front of me. Drake lunges, and something impossible happens. Cameron moves, not the sluggish, pained movements of a dying wolf. Fast, impossibly fast. Faster than betas should be able to move, faster than Drake's enhanced reflexes can track. He rolls beneath Drake's attack, his broken leg screaming but somehow still supporting his weight, and his claws find purchase in Drake's exposed throat. Not deep enough to kill, but deep enough to make Drake miss his strike, to send him crashing face first into the stones where Cameron had been moments before. The crowd gasps in unified shock. Cameron doesn't stop moving. He's on Drake's back before the larger wolf can recover, teeth sinking into the back of his neck, claws raking down his spine. It shouldn't be possible. A beta with a shattered leg and a dozen major wounds shouldn't be able to fight back, let alone gain the advantage. But Cameron is doing it anyway, fighting with a desperate ferocity that seems to come from somewhere beyond physical strength. He's fighting with love, with pure, desperate, unbreakable love that refuses to give up even when every rational part of him knows he's beaten. Drake roars in fury and pain, bucking wildly, trying to throw Cameron off. He succeeds, sending the smaller wolf flying through the air, but Cameron lands on his feet this time. Somehow, impossibly. His green eyes are burning now, not with magic, but with sheer determination, with the refusal to die before proving that love is stronger than power. They clash again, and this time Cameron is the aggressor. He's faster, dodging Drake's massive claws, using the larger wolf's size and bulk against him. When Drake swings, Cameron ducks under and tears at his legs. When Drake tries to pin him, Cameron slips free and bites down on vulnerable areas Drake's dark magic can't fully protect. It's not pretty. It's not heroic. It's desperate and brutal and bloody, but it's working. The impossible is happening right before our eyes. A beta is beating an alpha. 10 minutes into the fight, Drake is favoring his left rear leg, Cameron's teeth having found the tendons. 15 minutes in, Drake's right eye is swollen shut from where Cameron's claws raked across his face. 20 minutes in, the crowd has gone silent, watching in stunned disbelief as everything they thought they knew about wolf hierarchy crumbles in front of them. Drake is losing. The magically enhanced alpha warrior with 20 years of combat experience is losing to a beta scholar who tends gardens and reads old books, because Cameron is fighting for something Drake can't understand. Drake is fighting for pride, for possession, for the right to claim what he believes is his. But Cameron is fighting for love, for the right to stand beside his mate, for every moment we had together in the moon gardens, for the future we're supposed to have. And that makes him unstoppable. The final exchange happens so fast I almost miss it. Drake, desperate and humiliated and running out of the magic fueling his transformation, makes one last reckless charge. Cameron doesn't try to dodge this time. He waits, perfectly still, until Drake is almost on top of him. Then he drops and rolls, using Drake's own momentum against him, and as the black wolf passes overhead, Cameron's claws slice through the tendons in both of Drake's back legs. The alpha crashes to the ground in a heap of black fur and blood, his rear legs useless, unable to rise. He tries anyway, scrambling with his front paws, snarling in rage and disbelief, but Cameron is already on top of him, teeth locked around Drake's throat, pressing down just hard enough to make his submission clear. One bite, and it's over. Cameron could end him right now, spill Drake's blood across the ancient stones and cement his victory in death. But he doesn't. "Submit," Cameron growls, the word barely intelligible through his wolf form. "It's over, Drake. Submit." For a long moment, Drake doesn't move, his red eyes burn with hatred and humiliation, his body trembling with the need for violence. The dark magic is burning out of him now, his grotesque size shrinking back to normal as the potion wears off. Without it, he's just a beaten wolf with useless back legs and teeth at his throat. "Submit," Cameron repeats, and presses down harder. Drake finally makes a sound of surrender. A low whine through clenched teeth, the formal acknowledgement of defeat. Cameron releases him immediately, stepping back, his body swaying with exhaustion and blood loss but still standing. The silence in the amphitheater is absolute. No one can breathe. No one can process what they just witnessed. Then someone starts howling. A high, clear note of triumph. Another voice joins. Then another. Within seconds, half the pack is howling their approval, their shock, their grudging respect for the beta who did the impossible. But I don't hear any of it. I'm already moving, tearing free from the elders' restraining hands, running down the stairs toward the dueling circle. My crown falls off somewhere behind me. I don't care. I hit the stones running and shift mid-stride, my white wolf with its silver fire racing toward Cameron's bloodied form. He shifts back to human as I reach him, and I shift too, catching him as he collapses. His body is a mess of wounds, blood covering almost every inch of skin, his right arm hanging at the same wrong angle his wolf leg was. But he's alive. He's breathing. He's smiling at me with those green eyes I love more than anything in the world. I won, he whispers, like he can barely believe it. Victoria, I won. You're insane, I sob, cradling his broken body against mine, not caring that we're both naked in front of the entire pack. You beautiful, brave, insane man. I love you so much. The pack is still howling, the sound deafening now. Elder Moira is making her way down to the circle, ready to make the formal announcement of Cameron's victory. But I don't wait for her. I stand, pulling Cameron up with me despite his protests that he can't support his own weight. We stand there in the center of the blood-stained circle, two battered souls who just defied every law of nature and tradition, and I speak with my Luna voice, the one that carries to every corner of the amphitheater. Let everyone understand this clearly. Cameron won this duel through his own strength, his own courage, his own refusal to give up. My golden eyes find Drake where he lies in the dirt, still unable to stand, shame and hatred burning in his face. But even if he had lost, even if Drake had torn his throat out and stood victorious over his corpse, I would still choose Cameron. Even if 1,000 alphas challenged him, even if every warrior in 7 kingdoms demanded their right to claim me, my answer would be the same. I pull Cameron closer, my voice rising to a roar that makes the stones beneath our feet vibrate with power. I command my own destiny. I am the lunar sovereign, acknowledged by 700 wolves from 7 kingdoms. I am the one the moon goddess chose to break the cycle of forced bonds and loveless unions, and I choose Cameron Whitlock as my mate, today, tomorrow, and for every day that remains to us. Anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with me directly. Silver fire explodes around us, my power manifesting visibly, creating a pillar of moonlight that shoots into the sky. The pack howls louder, half in approval, half in fear, but all of them acknowledging what just happened here. Cameron leans against me, barely conscious but still managing to whisper, "That was hot. Did I mention how hot that was?" I laugh through my tears, holding him tighter. "Shut up, and let me get you to the healers before you bleed out." But before I can move, before I can do anything but celebrate this impossible victory, something changes in the air. Drake isn't lying in submission anymore. He's rising somehow, his back legs that should be useless supporting his weight through sheer force of will and dark magic that shouldn't still be working. The mark on his forehead is glowing again, pulsing with black light, and his eyes aren't red anymore. They're empty, hollow, like something else is looking out through them. "If I cannot have you," Drake says, but his voice is wrong, layered with echoes that don't belong to him, "then no one will." He moves faster than should be possible, his broken body surging forward with strength that comes from somewhere beyond the physical. Before anyone can react, before I can raise my hands to defend us, Drake's massive hands grab me around the waist with crushing force. "No!" Cameron screams, reaching for me, but he's too injured, too slow. Drake throws me over his shoulder like I weigh nothing and runs, not toward the pack, not toward the castle, toward the forest, toward the dark line of trees on the horizon that every wolf in Silvercrest knows to fear, toward Thornwood, the cursed forest where even alphas lose their minds and souls. I fight, clawing at his back, trying to shift, but the dark magic around him is suppressing my power somehow, keeping me trapped in my human form. The pack is shouting. Warriors are shifting to give chase, but Drake is moving with impossible speed, the black magic burning through him like fuel, carrying us both toward damnation. The last thing I see before the tree line swallows us is Cameron, my mate, my love, my heart, still bleeding in the dueling circle, but forcing himself to his feet anyway, ignoring the healers trying to restrain him, shifting into his battered wolf form, despite his shattered leg and torn body. He's coming after me, and I know, with terrible certainty, that this isn't over. The duel wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of something so much worse. Drake carries me into Thornwood's darkness, and behind us, Cameron follows alone into the forest that devours souls. The trees in Thornwood are wrong in ways that make my soul scream. Drake runs through the cursed forest with me slung over his shoulder like a sack of grain, and every step takes us deeper into darkness that feels alive and hungry. The trees here are twisted into shapes that shouldn't exist in nature, their bark black as charred flesh, their branches reaching toward us like skeletal fingers trying to grab hold. Sap drips from wounds in their trunks, thick and red as blood, pooling on the forest floor in puddles that steam and hiss when Drake's paws splash through them. The air is thick enough to choke on, saturated with ancient magic that tastes like rot and despair on my tongue. I can feel it pressing against my skin, trying to worm its way inside, looking for weaknesses to exploit. This place wants to corrupt us, wants to drive us mad like it's done to every wolf who has ever been foolish enough to enter its borders. I fight against Drake's grip, clawing at his back, trying to shift into my wolf form so I can escape, but something is wrong. The power that has been burning inside me since I chose Cameron, that silver fire that made me the Lunar Sovereign, is muted somehow, contained. Every time I reach for it, I hit a wall of dark magic that Drake wrapped around me, binding my abilities, trapping me in my weak human form. "Let me go!" I scream, pounding my fists against his shoulder blades. "Drake, please, you don't have to do this. We can still fix this." But he doesn't respond, doesn't even acknowledge that I spoke. He just keeps running deeper into Thornwood's heart, his breathing ragged and wrong, that black smoke still rising from his body like he's burning from the inside out. After what feels like hours but is probably only minutes, Drake finally stops in a clearing where no moonlight penetrates. The canopy overhead is so thick with twisted branches that the sky is completely hidden, leaving us in a darkness so absolute I can barely see my own hands. Drake drops me onto the ground hard enough to knock the wind from my lungs, and I scramble backward on the damp earth, trying to put distance between us. When he speaks, his voice is broken, fractured, like multiple people talking at once through the same mouth. "You think you can humiliate me?" he says, and laughs. The sound is wrong, too high and too low at the same time, edged with madness that makes my skin crawl. Reject me in front of the entire pack? Choose some weak beta flower boy over me? Make me submit to him like a common omega? Drake, that's not what I... Silence. His roar shakes the trees around us, sending flocks of dark birds scattering into the air with harsh cries. You will listen. You will understand exactly what your choices have cost you. I can see him better now as my eyes adjust to the darkness. He's still in his human form, naked and covered in wounds from the duel, but there's something fundamentally wrong with him. His skin is gray, veins standing out black beneath the surface like corruption is spreading through his blood. His eyes are completely black now, no white or iris visible, just empty voids that seem to swallow light. And that mark on his forehead, the one the Shadow Witch gave him, is pulsing with its own terrible light. This isn't just Drake anymore. The combination of humiliation, dark magic, and Thornwood's corrupting influence has broken something fundamental inside him. The man who courted me for 3 years is gone, replaced by something twisted and dangerous, and barely recognizable as the alpha warrior I once knew. I'm going to show you what rejection really means, Drake says, his black eyes fixed on me with an intensity that makes my heart race with terror. When that pathetic beta comes for you, and he will come because he's too stupid and lovesick to save himself, I'm going to tear him apart while you watch. I'm going to make you see every moment of his death, hear every scream, smell every drop of blood. And then, when you're broken and destroyed by grief, I'll kill you too. Slowly, painfully, until you beg for death. You're insane, I whisper, my back hitting a tree trunk, nowhere left to run. Drake, this isn't you. The magic, the forest, it's corrupting you. Let me help you. We can fix this before it's too late. Too late? He laughs again, the sound like breaking glass. It was too late the moment you chose him over me. Too late when you made me submit in front of everyone I've ever known. Too late when you proved that all my strength, all my power, all my years of service to this pack meant nothing compared to a beta who grows flowers. Somewhere in the forest behind us, I hear a sound that makes my heart both soar and break. The limping footsteps of an injured wolf, dragging itself through the undergrowth with desperate determination. Cameron, he's coming. Despite being half dead from the duel, Despite his broken body barely holding together, he's tracking us into Thornwood alone. He's here, Drake says with savage satisfaction, his head tilting to listen. I can smell his blood from here. Pathetic creature, crawling after what he thinks belongs to him. If you hurt him, I start, but Drake cuts me off with a backhanded strike that sends me sprawling into the dirt, my mouth filling with blood. You'll what? He snarls, standing over me. You're powerless here, Victoria. Your lunar magic doesn't work in Thornwood. The forest itself is suppressing it, feeding on it. You're just a weak female now, and there's nothing you can do to stop what's coming. While Drake is distracted watching the forest for Cameron's arrival, I force myself to focus despite the pain and terror flooding my system. My magic feels distant, muted, but it's still there somewhere beneath the suppression. I can feel it if I concentrate. That silver fire that made me the lunar sovereign, trapped, but not extinguished. You want to know the real story? Drake says suddenly, turning back to me with that broken laugh. The Shadow Witch told me everything while she was preparing the potions. Your precious prophecy, the one the elders only told you part of. I force myself to sit up, wiping blood from my mouth. What are you talking about? Your mother, he says, and something in his voice shifts, becomes almost lucid for a moment. She was like you, an albino lunar wolf, born once every 1,000 years, marked to be the lunar sovereign who would unite all the wolf kingdoms. She was supposed to be the most powerful wolf in history. I know that, I say, my heart starting to pound harder. Moira told me she died in childbirth, bringing me into the world. But do you know why she died? Drake moves closer, his black eyes boring into mine. Do you know why all that prophesied power never manifested? Why she was just another weak female Luna instead of the sovereign she was meant to be? I shake my head, unable to speak. Because they forced her to marry your father, Drake says, and I can hear something like pity bleeding through the madness in his voice. An alpha king she didn't love, didn't choose, who was selected for her by the Council of Elders for political advantage. And when she accepted that forced bond, when she chose duty over her heart, her power died, went dormant, stayed locked inside her until the day she bled out giving birth to you, hoping you might fulfill the destiny she never could. The words hit me like physical blows, each one stealing my breath. My mother, my beautiful, tragic mother who I never knew. She was supposed to be like me, but they destroyed her potential by forcing her into a loveless bond. The moon goddess was waiting, Drake continues, starting to pace now, agitated, waiting for a lunar queen brave enough to make the choice your mother couldn't, waiting for someone to choose love over hierarchy, heart over power, and you did it. When you claimed that beta, when you defied every tradition and expectation, you triggered the prophecy that's been dormant for 25 years. The 700 wolves, I whisper, understanding flooding through me like ice water. Spirits, Drake confirms. Every Luna who died in a forced bond throughout history. Every woman who was married off for politics, for alliances, for bloodlines, without any say in who held her heart. Your choice freed them. Broke the curse that's been hanging over wolf society since the beginning. Those weren't living wolves howling your name at dawn. They were the grateful dead, finally released from suffering. The magnitude of it crashes over me like a wave. This was never just about me and Cameron. Never just about choosing love over duty in my own life. My choice broke cycles that have existed for thousands of years, freed countless souls from torment, proved that the moon goddess values authentic love over political convenience. My mother's sacrifice wasn't in vain. She gave me life, and I used that life to accomplish what she never could. Tears streamed down my face, not from pain, but from the overwhelming weight of understanding. Thank you, I whisper to the mother I never knew, wherever her spirit might be. Thank you for being strong enough to survive, to give birth to me, to hope I might do what you couldn't. Touching, Drake snarls, and the madness is back full force, burning away that moment of lucidity. Really beautiful. But prophecies don't matter anymore. Traditions don't matter. All that matters is making you suffer the way you made me suffer. He drops to his knees and starts drawing symbols in the dirt with his own blood, cutting his palms open with his claws to make the markings flow. The symbols are ancient and wrong. Magic that should have died centuries ago. Forbidden arts that corrupt everyone who touches them. What are you doing? I demand, trying to crawl away from the growing circle of bloody symbols. Making sure that when your beta arrives, I'm strong enough to tear him apart, Drake says, his voice filled with dark satisfaction. making sure you watch every second of his death before I end you too. The prophecies can burn, the moon goddess can burn, love can burn, all of it, turning to ash and blood. The symbols begin to glow with sickly green light, and I feel power building in the clearing, dark and hungry and ancient. Whatever Drake is summoning, it's going to make the Shadow Witch's potion look like child's play. That's when Cameron emerges from the tree line. He's in his wolf form, and he looks more dead than alive. His gray fur is so matted with blood, I can barely see the original color. His right front leg is still shattered, hanging useless, forcing him to hobble on 3 legs. Gashes cover his body, some still bleeding freely, others already infected from the filth of Thornwood. He's swaying on his feet, barely able to stand, his breathing ragged and wet. But his green eyes, those beautiful green eyes I fell in love with in the moon gardens, are clear and focused entirely on me. "Cameron, no," I sob, trying to get to my feet to go to him. "Run! Please, just run! Get out of here before—" Drake's laugh cuts me off. "Before what? Before I kill him? Too late, Victoria. He came here to die for you. Let's not disappoint him." Drake shifts into his wolf form, and the dark magic he's been channeling floods into his body all at once. He grows even larger than he was during the duel, his black fur crackling with green lightning, his eyes burning with unholy fire. The symbols he drew vanish, absorbed into his corrupted flesh, making him into something that isn't entirely wolf anymore. Something worse. This isn't a duel. This isn't honorable combat governed by ancient rules. This is just murder, dressed up as a fight. Cameron doesn't hesitate. Despite his injuries, despite facing an opponent who has been magically enhanced beyond any reasonable limits, he limps forward and attacks. His teeth find Drake's foreleg, his claws rake across Drake's muzzle, and for a moment, I let myself hope that love might triumph again. But Drake isn't holding back this time, isn't toying with his opponent, isn't worried about honor or tradition or witnesses. He's just trying to kill. Drake's jaws close around Cameron's good front leg and shake, the crack of breaking bone audible even over my screaming. Cameron yelps in pain, his grip failing, and Drake tosses him across the clearing like he weighs nothing. Cameron crashes into a tree trunk hard enough to leave a dent, slides to the ground in a heap, but he gets up. Somehow, impossibly, he forces his broken body back to its feet and attacks again. Drake is ready. His claws open 3 deep gashes across Cameron's ribs, exposing bone. His teeth tear a chunk from Cameron's shoulder. Each blow would kill a normal wolf, but Cameron keeps fighting, keeps refusing to die, powered by nothing but desperate love and the refusal to leave me alone with this monster. I'm screaming so hard my throat is raw, fighting against the magical bonds holding me in place, watching the man I love being systematically destroyed. My power is thrashing inside me like a caged animal, trying to break free, but the suppression Drake placed on me is too strong. I can feel it there, burning just out of reach, but I can't access it, can't use it, can't save him. Drake gets Cameron by the throat, lifts him off the ground, and slams him down so hard the earth cracks. Cameron doesn't get up this time. He lies there in the dirt, choking on blood, his body finally giving out after being pushed beyond any reasonable limit. Drake shifts back to human, places one foot on Cameron's neck, and looks at me with those empty black eyes. "Any last words, Beta? Want to tell your precious queen how much you love her one more time before I crush your throat?" Cameron's green eyes find mine through the blood and pain and devastation. His mouth moves, forming words I can barely hear, but I know what he's saying because I can feel it through our bond. I love you, always worth it. And something inside me shatters, not breaks, shatters, like every restraint I've ever placed on myself, every wall I've built to contain my emotions, every careful control I've maintained to be a proper queen, all of it exploding outward in a single moment of pure, incandescent fury. This isn't just anger, it's love transformed into force. Love for Cameron, who saw me as Victoria before he saw me as a queen. Love for my mother, who died so I could live to make the choice she never could. Love for every Luna who suffered in forced bonds. Love for myself, for the right to choose my own fate. All of it concentrating into a single point of power that nothing, not dark magic, not Thornwood's corruption, not Drake's suppression, can contain. The magical bonds Drake placed on me explode like glass hitting concrete, shards of dark magic scattering into nothing. My body shifts, but not into my normal wolf form. I grow, expanding rapidly, silver fire pouring from my skin like I'm made of liquid moonlight. My white fur appears threaded with living silver that burns too bright to look at directly. Flames of pure lunar power dance along my spine, crackling with energy that makes the air itself shimmer. I keep growing until I'm massive, larger than any alpha who has ever lived. My shoulders level with the twisted tree branches overhead. My eyes burn gold like small suns, and when I open my mouth to roar my rage, the sound shakes Thornwood itself. Trees bend away from me, the corrupting influence of the cursed forest unable to withstand the divine power now radiating from every inch of my transformed body. I am no longer just Victoria Ashbourne, Lunar Queen of Silvercrest. I am the Lunar Sovereign, the fulfillment of a 1,000-year prophecy, power manifest in physical form, and I am done being afraid. Drake stumbles backward, his foot leaving Cameron's throat, his black eyes going wide with something that might be fear or might be awe. What? I don't let him finish. I cross the distance between us in a single bound and slam into him with the force of a collapsing mountain. He flies backward, crashes through 3 trees before hitting the 4th hard enough to crack it. The dark magic in him flares, trying to match my power, but it's nothing compared to what I've become. I'm on him before he can recover, my claws tearing through corrupted flesh, my teeth finding his shoulder and shaking until I feel bone crack. This isn't a careful duel. This isn't strategy or technique. This is just raw, overwhelming power, meeting dark magic and showing exactly which is superior. Drake tries to fight back. His claws rake my side, opening shallow wounds that heal almost instantly, silver fire sealing them closed as fast as he can make them. His teeth snap at my throat, but I'm too fast, too strong, too far beyond anything he can match. I fight for Cameron, lying broken in the dirt behind us. For my mother, who never got to experience this kind of freedom. For every Luna who was forced to marry alphas they didn't love. For every woman told she couldn't command her own fate. For every person who dared to choose heart over hierarchy and paid the price for it. I fight for love, and love makes me unstoppable. Drake is weakening, the dark magic burning out of him faster than it can regenerate. Without it, he's just a wolf, powerful, but not divine, not chosen, not blessed by the moon goddess herself to break cycles and change the world. In one final move that splits the sky overhead with its force, I drive my claws through his chest and feel them pierce his corrupted heart. He gasps, black blood pouring from his mouth, his empty eyes focusing on my burning gold ones with something like understanding in his final moment. "You chose love," he whispers, blood making the words wet and broken. "And it made you stronger than any alpha could ever be." "Yes," I say simply. Then I rip my claws free, and Drake Morven, the alpha warrior who couldn't accept that power isn't everything, falls dead at my feet. The moment his heart stops beating, black smoke begins pouring from his mouth, his eyes, his wounds. It coalesces into a shape above his body, something ancient and malevolent that was riding inside him, using him as a puppet. The entity of shadow and hate that Thornwood itself generated, trying to corrupt everything it touches, now exposed and dying without its host. I reach up and swipe my claws through the smoke, tearing it apart with lunar fire. It screams, a sound of pure agony, before dissipating into nothing. And then I hear it, 700 voices howling again. But this time it's not recognition or celebration. It's mourning, grief for the wolf who let darkness consume him, for the alpha who couldn't let go of pride long enough to save himself. I shift back to human form and run to Cameron, dropping to my knees beside his broken wolf body. He's not moving, barely breathing, blood pooling beneath him in quantities that no living creature should be able to lose and survive. "Cameron," I sob, gathering him carefully into my arms, feeling his body shift back to human without his conscious control. "Cameron, please, stay with me. Please don't leave. We won. It's over. Just hold on." His eyes flutter open, those green eyes barely focusing on my face. "Did we win?" he whispers, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. "Yes," I tell him, tears falling onto his face. "Yes, we won. You're safe. I'm safe. Drake is dead. It's over." "Good," Cameron breathes, a tiny smile curving his lips. Told you love was worth fighting for." Behind us, I hear the trees of Thornwood beginning to crack and groan. The curse that has held this forest for centuries is breaking, my lunar power too pure for it to withstand. Branches are straightening, bark turning from black to healthy brown, flowers beginning to bloom in places where only rot existed moments before. The forest is healing, but I don't care about any of that. All I care about is the man dying in my arms, the beta who proved that love is stronger than power, who fought an impossible battle and won, who came into a cursed forest alone to save me even though it might have killed him. Don't you dare die on me, I tell him fiercely, pressing my hands over his worst wounds, feeling his blood hot and slick against my palms. Don't you dare leave me now. We have a whole life to live together. You promised me tomorrow, Cameron. You promised me forever. Love you, he whispers, his eyes starting to close. Always, always worth it. His heartbeat falters, stutters, starts to fade, and I refuse to accept it. Cameron's heartbeat is fading beneath my hands, each pulse weaker than the last, and I'm screaming his name like it might anchor him to this world through sheer force of will. No, 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 I sob, pressing my palms harder against the worst wounds on his chest, feeling his blood pour hot and slick between my fingers. Cameron, stay with me. Please, you can't leave. Not now. Not after everything we've survived. His green eyes flutter, struggling to focus on my face. His lips move, but no sound comes out, just blood bubbling up from his throat. The mate bond between us is flickering like a candle in wind, threatening to extinguish completely, and the thought of that connection severing makes me want to tear the world apart. I've never felt so powerless in my entire life. I'm the Lunar Sovereign, acknowledged by 700 wolves from 7 kingdoms, blessed with power that just killed an alpha warrior and broke a centuries-old curse. But none of it matters if I lose the man who made me brave enough to claim that power in the first place. I love you, I tell him desperately, my tears falling onto his pale face. I love you so much, Cameron. You're everything to me. Everything. Please don't go. Please. His chest rises in a shallow breath, then falls, and doesn't rise again. The mate bond goes silent. No! I scream, and the sound rips out of my throat like something dying. I lean down and press my mouth to his, breathing air into his lungs, trying to force life back into his broken body. Breathe, damn you! Cameron, breathe! Nothing. His chest remains still. His heartbeat is gone. The man who taught me how to laugh in moon gardens, who chose me when I was just Victoria instead of a queen, who fought impossible battles for the right to love me, is dead in my arms, and I can't accept it. Moon goddess! I scream at the sky, my power exploding outward in waves of silver fire. You gave me all this power. You made me the sovereign. But what good is any of it if I can't save him? What good is anything without him? The clouds above Thornwood part for the first time in centuries, revealing the full moon hanging perfect and luminous in the night sky. A beam of pure silver light descends from that moon, so bright it turns the darkness of the cursed forest into something approaching day. The light surrounds Cameron and me, warm and gentle and ancient, wrapping us in power that makes my lunar fire look like a candle compared to the sun. I feel a presence descending with that light, something vast and maternal, and beyond my ability to fully comprehend. It fills the clearing, fills the entire forest, fills me with a sensation of being seen completely, every flaw and fear and desperate hope laid bare before something divine. The moon goddess herself has come. Her voice echoes in my mind, not words exactly, but meaning that translates directly into understanding. My brave daughter, you have broken chains that even I could not break, bound as I am by the laws of free will and destiny. You chose love when it would have been easier to choose power. You chose truth when tradition demanded lies, and in doing so, you have freed countless souls from suffering I could only witness but never prevent. Please, I beg, not caring that I'm addressing a goddess with desperation instead of reverence. Please save him. I'll do anything. Give anything. Just don't let him die. Not like this. Not for me. The power within you now is enough to heal him completely, the goddess says, her presence wrapping around me like a warm embrace. You have become something unprecedented, Victoria. The lunar sovereign in full manifestation. Power that hasn't walked this world in over 1,000 years. You could channel that divine energy into him, knit his broken bones, seal his wounds, restore his life. Hope explodes in my chest so violently it hurts. Then let me do it. Show me how. But there is a cost, she continues, and her voice carries sadness now. The power you possess is not entirely yours to keep. It was lent to you to break the curse, to free the bound souls, to prove that love matters more than hierarchy. If you use it to save him, you will lose half of what makes you transcendent. You will return to being merely a powerful wolf, stronger than most alphas, but no longer divine. No longer the unstoppable sovereign who can shake mountains with her roar. I don't even hesitate. Take it all. Take every drop of power if you need to. Take my strength, my lunar fire, my sovereignty. Just save him, please. The goddess laughs, and the sound is like wind chimes and bells and music I have no words to describe. This is why you are worthy, daughter. This is why you succeeded where so many others failed. You would choose love over power 1,000 times, never counting the cost, never regretting the sacrifice, and because of that truth in your heart, because you mean it with every fiber of your being, you will keep more power than you imagine. True strength does not come from divine gifts. It comes from knowing what matters and refusing to compromise on it. I don't care about strength, I say through my tears. I just want him alive. Then give him your light, the goddess whispers. Pour your love into him. Show him the way back. I close my eyes and reach deep inside myself, finding that well of silver fire that has been burning since the moment I chose Cameron in the Great Hall. I gather all of it, every spark and flame, and I push it down through my hands into Cameron's still chest. The light flows out of me in a river, pouring from my palms directly into his heart, filling him with lunar magic and desperate love, and my absolute refusal to let him go. I feel my power draining as the light continues to flow. The transcendent strength that made me grow larger than any alpha, that let me tear through Drake like he was paper, that broke Thornwood's curse, all of it pouring out of me and into the man I love. My body shrinks back to normal size, the silver flames dancing along my skin dim and fade. The sense of divine presence within me grows distant, muted, returning to wherever it came from, but I don't stop. I give everything I have, every last drop of power, until there's nothing left but me. Just Victoria. Just a woman who loves a man more than she loves being extraordinary. Cameron's chest suddenly hitches, rising in a gasping breath that sounds like resurrection. His heart kicks back into rhythm beneath my hands, at first stuttering and weak, then stronger, steadier. The mate bond between us roars back to life, flooding me with his emotions, his pain and confusion and overwhelming relief to still exist. I watch in wonder as silver light races through his body beneath his skin, visible through his wounds like veins of liquid moonlight. Bones snap back into place with audible cracks, the sound making me wince but filling me with joy because it means he's healing. Flesh knits together, torn muscle reweaving itself, deep gashes sealing closed until only silver scars remain, marking where death almost claimed him. His gray wolf fur, still matted with dried blood in places the healing couldn't completely clean, is changing. The tips are turning silver, permanent marks of my power flowing through him, claiming him as mine in a way that goes deeper than any ceremonial marking could ever reach. He will carry pieces of me in his very DNA now, our bond visible to anyone who looks at him. Cameron's eyes open, those beautiful green eyes focusing on my face with clarity and awareness, and I start crying all over again. "You saved me," he whispers, his voice hoarse but alive, wonderfully alive. "You saved yourself 1,000 times, I tell him, laughing through my tears, cupping his face in my hands and kissing him desperately. In the duel, coming after me into Thornwood, fighting Drake when you could barely stand. All I did was finish what you started. Pretty sure dying and needing divine intervention means I needed saving," he says. But he's smiling, actually smiling, and I've never seen anything more beautiful. We kiss there in the clearing where we almost lost everything, tasting blood and tears and victory and survival, holding each other so tight it probably hurts, but neither of us caring. Around us, Thornwood continues its transformation. The twisted black trees are straightening, their bark shifting from charred darkness to healthy brown. Leaves are sprouting, not the dead gray things that existed before, but vibrant green that catches the moonlight. And between the roots, pushing up through soil that hasn't produced life in centuries, moonflowers are blooming. The same silver lunar flowers that grow in the sacred gardens where Cameron and I first met, now spreading through a forest that was cursed for so long, everyone forgot it could be anything else. Thornwood isn't dying. It's being reborn as something sacred, a garden fit for the goddess whose presence still lingers in the warm light bathing everything. "Can you stand?" I ask Cameron, helping him sit up carefully, checking for injuries the healing might have missed. "I think so," he says, getting his feet under him with my support. He's naked. Both of us are. Our clothes destroyed by repeated shifting and battles. But neither of us cares about modesty right now. He looks down at himself, noticing the silver tips on his fingernails where claws usually emerge, the silver scars tracking across his chest and arms. I look different. You look perfect, I tell him honestly. You look like mine. He pulls me close and kisses my forehead. Always was. Always will be. We shift together, my white wolf with its silver threads and his gray wolf now marked with my silver at every extremity, and we begin the long walk back to Silvercrest. We move slowly, both of us still recovering, him from nearly dying, and me from giving away so much power I feel almost hollow. But we move together, side by side, two wolves who changed the world and survived the cost. When we emerge from the tree line where Thornwood meets Silvercrest territory, the entire pack is waiting. They must have heard the howling of 700 voices when Drake died, and the curse broke. They must have felt the moon goddess's presence descending, must have seen the light even from miles away. Now they stand in silence, hundreds of wolves in both forms, watching us approach with expressions ranging from awe to fear to joy. Elder Moira is at the front, tears streaming down her ancient face. When we reach her, she drops to her knees despite her age, her head bowing low. "The Lunar Sovereign returns," she says, her voice carrying to every wolf assembled, and her chosen mate walks beside her. The prophecy is fulfilled. The curse is broken. A new age begins. One by one, the other wolves kneel. Not everyone, not the ones who still cling to old traditions, but more than half the pack acknowledging what we represent, what we accomplished, what we proved about the power of choosing love over obligation. The next few days pass in a blur of preparation and healing and negotiation. Representatives from 6 other kingdoms arrive, drawn by the supernatural call that went out when the curse broke, when 700 voices howled in mourning and then in celebration. They come to see if the stories are true, if the Lunar Sovereign has really awakened after 1,000 years, if the old prophecies are finally coming to pass. On the night of the full moon, exactly 1 week after I chose Cameron in the Great Hall and set all of this in motion, I am crowned Lunar Sovereign of 7 kingdoms, in a ceremony that makes my first coronation as Silvercrest's queen look like a rehearsal. The Great Hall has been transformed, every surface covered in moonflowers that Cameron and I gathered from the reborn Thornwood. Silver banners hang from the rafters, embroidered with the ancient symbols that appeared on my skin when I first claimed my mate. Representatives from each of the 7 wolf kingdoms stand in places of honor, their presence voluntary, their submission offered freely rather than taken by conquest. I wear a crown forged from lunar silver, a metal so rare it's usually only found in meteor fragments, glowing with its own soft light. The crown was created by packsmiths working around the clock, guided by designs Elder Moira found in manuscripts so old they crumbled when touched. It sits on my head like it was always meant to be there, warm and alive, resonating with the power still burning in my core. And Cameron stands beside me, not behind me like a consort usually would, not kneeling at my feet like tradition demands. Beside me, at my right hand, wearing silver bands on his wrists that mark him as royal consort, equal partner to the sovereign. His presence there is a statement that some of the traditional wolves mutter about, but no one dares challenge. Not after what we survived, not after what he proved in 2 impossible duels. When Elder Moira places the crown on my head and declares me sovereign before the assembled kingdoms, I don't feel the weight of obligation I expected. I feel purpose, clarity, the absolute certainty that I'm exactly where I'm meant to be, with exactly who I'm meant to be with. I rise from the throne and speak with my Luna voice, the one that carries to every corner of the massive hall and beyond. I accept this crown not because of bloodline or birthright, but because I chose love when power demanded otherwise. I accept this responsibility not to maintain traditions that harm us, but to forge new ones that heal. And my first act as Lunar Sovereign is to change the laws that have bound our people for too long. The hall goes silent, every wolf holding their breath. From this day forward, no Luna, no Omega, no woman in any of our 7 kingdoms will be forced into a mate bond against her will. The moon goddess gives us mate bonds as gifts, as suggestions of who we might find happiness with, but they are not obligations. They are not contracts. Every wolf has the right to accept or reject their fated mate, to choose who they love without fear of punishment or exile. Gasps ripple through the crowd. Some wolves begin howling their approval immediately, mostly females and betas who have lived under the old laws. Others stand in shocked silence, traditionalists who can't process what I'm saying. Furthermore, I continue, my voice steady and clear, rank will no longer determine worth in our kingdoms. Alpha, beta, omega, these are descriptions of our natures, not measures of our value. A beta scholar can be as important as an alpha warrior. An omega artist can be as vital as a Luna leader. We will judge each other by character, by contribution, by the content of our hearts, rather than the accident of our birth. The hall erupts in chaos, some wolves cheering, others shouting protests, the pack and kingdoms dividing along lines that were always there but never acknowledged so publicly. But I don't back down. I let them argue and shout and process this radical shift in everything they've ever known. Cameron's hand finds mine, his fingers threading through my own, and he squeezes gently. When I look at him, he's smiling with pride and love, and something like wonder that I chose him to stand beside me while I tear down the world and rebuild it better. That night, after the representatives have returned to their kingdoms to discuss my proclamations, after the pack has dispersed still arguing among themselves, I perform one final ceremony, one that the moon goddess taught me during those moments when her presence filled Thornwood's clearing. Cameron and I stand in the castle's highest tower, open to the night sky, the full moon directly overhead. Elder Moira and a few other witnesses stand at a respectful distance as I begin speaking words in the old tongue, syllables that haven't been pronounced in over 1,000 years, calling to the spirits who have been waiting for this moment. They come in response to my call, materializing out of moonlight itself. 700 ethereal wolves, translucent and glowing, their forms made of silver light and ancient sorrow finally transformed into peace. These are the Lunas who died in forced bonds, who suffered in loveless unions, who gave up their own happiness for duty and tradition and the expectations of others. One by one, they approach me. Each spirit wolf touches her nose to mine, her eyes meeting my golden ones, and I feel her gratitude wash through me like a wave. Some were young when they died, barely more than girls. Others were ancient, having survived decades in bonds that slowly killed their spirits. All of them are free now, released by my choice to honor love over obligation, my refusal to let tradition dictate my heart. Cameron watches in silence, tears streaming down his face, finally understanding the full magnitude of what our love accomplished. We didn't just save ourselves. We saved souls who have been trapped for centuries, waiting for someone brave enough to prove that choosing your own mate isn't selfish or weak, but the most powerful act of all. As the last spirit wolf dissolves into moonlight, I feel something settle in my chest, a sense of completion, of purpose fulfilled. The 700 voices that howled my name at dawn will never need to call again. They're at rest now, finally at peace, their suffering ended by a queen who dared to be human, before she was sovereign. The next morning, I find Cameron in the lunar gardens where we first met, his hands in the earth, tending moonflowers like he's done for years. But he's different now, marked by everything we've survived. Silver scars visible on his arms where his shirt is rolled up, silver tips on the flowers he's planting glowing in response to his touch. He looks up when he hears my footsteps, and his smile is bright enough to rival the sun. Couldn't sleep? Too much on my mind, I admit, kneeling beside him in the dirt despite my royal robes. Mind if I help? Always, he says, handing me a small moonflower seedling. Been wanting to try something. Found it in one of the old manuscripts. We work together, digging a small hole, preparing the soil with careful attention. Cameron places the seedling with gentle precision, his gardener's hands sure and steady despite everything they've been through. When the plant is settled, he gestures for me to place my hands on the stem at the same time he does. The moment we both touch it, the flower explodes with light. Silver fire races through its leaves, the bloom opening despite it being morning, petals unfurling in spirals of white and silver that shimmer with magic. The flower grows rapidly, spreading runners across the ground, new blooms sprouting every few inches until we're surrounded by a carpet of light. It's called a heart bond flower, Cameron explains, his voice soft with wonder. According to the manuscript, it only blooms when true mates touch it together. And once planted, it spreads throughout the kingdom, marking every garden with proof that authentic love is possible. It's perfect, I whisper, watching the flowers continue to spread, knowing that by tomorrow morning, Every garden in Silvercrest will have these blooms, a living reminder of what we represent. Cameron kisses me there among the flowers we created together, and it feels like coming home. 2 months later, the pack healer confirms what I've suspected for weeks. I'm pregnant, not with one child, but with twins. This is unprecedented, the healer says, her hands hovering over my barely showing belly, sensing the 2 distinct life forces within. One is developing as an alpha, the other as a beta, born from the same womb, on the same day, with equal strength in their heartbeats. I've never seen anything like it. Cameron's face goes pale, then breaks into the widest smile I've ever seen. Twins? We're having twins? You're having living proof that alpha and beta are not hierarchy, but simply different expressions of the same worth, the healer says, looking at me with something like reverence. The prophecy continues through them. Your children will grow up in a world where rank doesn't determine value, where both will be celebrated equally. That night, lying in our chambers with Cameron's hand resting on my belly, feeling our children move within me, I'm overwhelmed with gratitude for the goddess who gave us the strength to break cycles, for the mother I never knew who died giving me life, for every Luna who suffered so we could be free, for this man beside me who saw Victoria before he saw the Queen. Sometimes I still can't believe this is real, Cameron confesses quietly, that you chose me, that we changed the world, that we're about to be parents to children who will never know the limitations we were raised with. You chose me first, I remind him, turning to face him in the darkness. In the gardens, when you asked if I wanted to help with the flowers, you saw a person who needed peace, not a queen who needed reverence. That's why I love you, Cameron. That's why I'll always love you. You gave me permission to be human. You gave me permission to be enough, he says back, just as I am. We fall asleep, tangled together, my head on his chest, his hand on our children, both of us content in ways we never thought possible. On the last night before the twins are born, 9 months after I first chose Cameron in the Great Hall and set everything in motion, the moon goddess appears to me one final time. Cameron is sleeping peacefully beside me, but I'm awake, too full of anticipation and anxiety to rest. She manifests as pure light in the corner of our chambers, her presence warm and comforting rather than overwhelming. When she speaks, it's directly into my mind, private words meant only for me. Your power did not come from defying tradition, daughter, she says gently. It came from honoring true love. Every Luna in the past 1,000 years had a mate bond calling to her heart. Most of them felt it, but they ignored it for duty, for obligation, for the expectations of others. You were the first to choose your heart, even knowing it would cost you everything. That courage, that authenticity, that refusal to compromise on what matters most, that is where true power originates. I didn't feel brave, I confess. I just felt like I couldn't breathe anymore living a lie. That is exactly what makes you worthy, she says, and I hear the smile in her voice. True courage is not the absence of fear. It is choosing love despite the fear. You knew the pack might reject you. You knew you would lose the respect of traditionalists. You knew Cameron might die in the dueling circle, but you chose him anyway, because living without authentic love felt worse than any consequence. That is the power that changed the world. Thank you, I whisper, for everything, for the strength when I needed it, for saving Cameron, for letting me be part of something bigger than myself. You were never part of it, child. You were the catalyst, the one who made it all possible. Sleep now. Your children are coming with the dawn, and they will need a mother who is rested and ready to teach them that love is always worth fighting for. The presence fades, leaving me in peaceful darkness with my sleeping mate, and our children safe in my womb. Dawn comes gentle and golden, painting Silvercrest in shades of hope. Cameron and I stand on our private balcony, hands intertwined, looking out over the 7 kingdoms that stretch before us in every direction. The landscape is transformed from what it was 9 months ago. Moonflowers bloom in every garden, heart-bond flowers spreading like wildfire, marking each home with proof that love matters more than tradition. In the distance, if you listen carefully, you can hear the 700 voices still singing, not in mourning anymore, not in pain or suffering or desperate calling, but in joy, in celebration, in gratitude that the cycle finally broke, that Lunas are free to choose their own mates now, that love is no longer subordinate to hierarchy. The souls are at rest, the kingdoms are healing, our children kick inside me, ready to be born into a world that will value them for who they are, rather than what rank they carry. And the man I love stands beside me, marked with silver scars and silver-tipped fur, proof that a beta can stand equal to a sovereign if their heart is true. Cameron turns to me, his green eyes meeting my gold ones, and he asks softly, "Any regrets?" I think about everything we've survived, the rejection and humiliation, the blood duels and curses, the near death and sacrifice, the weight of changing laws that have stood for millennia, the responsibility of ruling 7 kingdoms while raising children who will be watched and judged and expected to embody a new age. Not one, I tell him honestly, not a single regret. He smiles and pulls me close, kissing me as the sun fully rises, bathing us in light that feels like benediction. I trusted my heart to a beta when everyone told me to choose an alpha. I defied tradition, broke ancient laws, challenged every expectation placed on me since birth. I gave away half my divine power to save his life. I risked everything for love, and in return, I gained the whole world, not through conquest or dominance or the strength of my bloodline, but through the simple, revolutionary act of choosing who I loved and refusing to apologize for it. The lunar flowers bloom around us, their petals opening to catch the morning light, and somewhere in the distance, 700 freed souls sing their last joyful song before finally fading into eternal peace. I look at Cameron, this man who taught me how to breathe again, and I whisper the truth that defines everything we built together. I trusted my heart to a beta, and I gained the whole world.